She walked the salvage yard at dawn while the sky held a dim glow and the ships lay. It's like old whales in the dust. Her name was Claire, and she was calm and quiet and strong in the way. It does not ask for notice. She wore a patched jacket and a charm on a cord that her aunt had given her when she was small. The charm was a thin ring cut from a fallen star, or so the story said. The ring was warm when she held it, and that meant a call for help. Like somewhere out in the dark, Claire had work hands. In steady eyes, she sifted broken metal and wire and glass until a soft hum reached. Her ears she turned and found a pod buried under a sheet of foil and a net of cable. The pod was smooth and pale, and it shook like a heart in a dream, Claire put her palm on it, and the ring grew hot and bright. The pod opened with a sigh, and a woman rose from it. The woman did not look like anyone Claire had seen on Earth. Her skin held a faint silver tone, and her hair flowed like cool water. Her eyes were sea green, and her suit clung to her shape like a second skin. She was hurt, yet proud, and she stood with a grace that made the junk field seem like a hall of light. "My name is Leora," he said. Without sound, the words came to Claire like a feeling. In the chest, Leora took one step closer, and Claire felt the chill of the morning lift from her bones. The ring on the cord pulsed once more, and then lay still. Claire knew, without doubt, that Leora was in danger, and that danger might fall on more than one life. Near the salvage yard, a town sat low along the dry river. People there spoke in short lines and long pauses. They worked the fields and tuned the turbines and watched the sky each night. They liked Claire because she fixed things and asked for little. She had friends named Megan and Brooke and Ivy and Kelly and Nora and Zoe. They were brave in their own ways, and they trusted her. Claire brought Leora to a shed behind her home, where tools hung on hooks and drone parts lay in bins. She cleaned Leora wounds with warm water and tea leaves. Leora thanked her with a look that held both joy and sorrow. Her ship crashed, she said, in that same silent way. Her people were near, but not near enough. Another force hunted them. That force left marks in space like cold scars. If it found the town, it would take what it wished and break what it could not use. Claire listened and weighed the risk. The town had a radio mast and a ring of defense drones that still worked if you talked to them right. She had tuned them many times and knew their moods. She looked at Leora and saw pain, but also the light of will. That means, "I will stand, and I will not let the dark win," she told Leora. That the town could hide her for a time. She told Leora that humans do not give up the home. Fire night fell, and the wind moved like a slow tide through the wheat. Leora stood outside and watched the stars as if reading a map only she could see. Claire stood beside her. "Your enemies?" she asked in the quiet of her mind. "Who are they, and what do they want?" Leora answered with a small breath. "They call themselves the Cold Sect. They want order with no heart. They take voices and make them one voice, and they call it peace. They hate the many ways that life can sing." Claire felt anger rise like a red spark. The town had lost too much to men who said the same kinds of things. Men who drew lines and said the lines were law. She touched the ring and made a choice. She called a meeting in the old barn. Lanterns hung on nails, and the smell of hay mixed with oil. Megan stood near the door and kept watch. Brooke drew maps on the floor with chalk. Ivy spoke of power lines and how to make them hum again. Kelly had a calm voice and used it to settle fear. Nora knew how to drive the grain haulers fast over rough ground. Zoe had a drone swarm of her own that could dance like bees. Claire told the story of Leora and the Cold Sect. She said they might be hours away or days. She said the town could move or bend or break. She said she would not move and would not bend and would not break. She said they were humans, and they would stand. The barn was quiet for a long breath. Then the women nodded. One by one, they made a plan that fit the land. And the tools they had, Megan and Nora would set traps along the service road, where the dry river cut through the clay ivy, and Kelly would feed power to the old shield coils. On the mast, Brooke would program the defense drones to wake at a code word. Zoe would send her swarm up high and wide to see what came. Leora watched, and then stepped forward with a soft light in her eyes. She offered a blade that was not a blade, and a shield that was not a shield. Her people shaped them from songs. They fit the hand like a memory and moved like thought. She taught Claire how to use them, and Claire learned fast before dawn. The sky gave a warning hush, and the ring grew warm once more. Zoe called out that shapes moved at the edge of the valley. The shapes were dark and thin, and they walked in perfect rows. Their craft hovered above like flat stones skimming a lake. The cold sect had come. The town did not scream and did not run. The women took their places and breathed slow. Claire climbed the mast and stood on the iron with the song shield on her left arm and the song blade in her right hand. Leora stood on the ground below like a silver tree. The cold sect sent a voice. Humans, yield. Your many ways disrupt order. Your bright noise must. And Kelly spoke into the mast and sent back a single line. We hear you, and we refuse. The first wave of drones from the cold sect fell into the traps. Along the road they sparked and stumbled and broke. Megan and Nora drew them deeper into the clay. With feints and false signals, Brooke spoke the code word, and the defense drones of the town woke like old wolves. They rose on thin rotors and circled the mast. The cold sect craft turned and aimed beams that froze the air with pale light. Ivy and Kelly pushed power into the shield coils, and the mast hummed a soft dome, wrapped the square and held. The air cracked like ice, but the dome held. The cold sect moved to land troops. That was when Zoe's swarm came in from above like a cloud of quick light. The swarm confused the enemy sensors and tangled their tight formation. The perfect rows broke into crooked lines. Claire saw the opening and leaped from the mast. The song shield shaped the air and broke her fall. She ran through dust and light and static and found the first of the cold sect troopers. They were tall and narrow, and their faces were smooth plates. They moved like metronomes. Claire moved like a storm. The song blade did not cut metal. It cut intent when it met force. That force went quiet. She slipped between strikes and sent hush through their ranks. Leora came beside her like water beside a rock, and together they pushed the line back. One trooper raised a rod and threw a net of stillness toward the barn. Megan saw it and sprinted and tackled the rod at the last breath. The net fell wide and lost strength. Megan rolled to her feet with a grin and a scuff and kept moving. Nora used a grain hauler like a ram and broke a path through a line of crawlers. She whooped and spun the wheel, and the hauler roared. Dust rose and hid her until she burst out again like a whale from foam. Ivy watched the shields and found the rhythm of the enemy beam. She tuned the coils to sing back at the same pitch the next beam hit and split into harmless rain. Kelly held the line of power with steady hands and soft words, and the dome stayed. Bright Brooke guided the town drones through tight loops and clever feints. She spoke to them as if they were old friends, and they answered. They pecked at joints and seams and found the small flaws that every machine keeps. Hidden Zoe traced the lead craft with her swarm and drew it down toward the traps near the river. The craft tried to pull up, but the clay sucked at its skids and held. The swarm settled on its hull and hummed until it slept. The cold sect voice came again, but now it shook. Humans, you are not in order. Humans, you do not stop. Humans, you break our shape. Claire looked toward Leora and saw both fear and hope. She knew the town could win, but only if the enemy heart broke. She needed to find that heart. Leora pointed toward a tall figure near the center of the field. A conductor of will, she said. Break the conductor, and the chorus falls apart. Claire ran. She moved past lines of dust and light and into a ring where the air felt thick and cold. The tall figure stood still with arms at its side. It pulsed in time with the enemy ranks. Each pulse was a command that took the color from the world Claire held. The song blade low and the song shield high. She stepped until the pulses began to falter. The conductor tilted its head and tried to freeze her with a stare that felt like stone. She thought of the town. She thought of Megan grit and Nora courage, and Ivy focus, and Kelly calm, and Brooke craft, and Zoe flair. She thought of Leora standing like a silver tree. She thought of the ring on the cord, and of the fallen star, and of her aunt's voice that had told her to be kind and also to be strong. The stone gaze cracked. The conductor lifted a hand and sent a wall of quiet toward Claire. The quiet was the kind that comes before a storm breaks. Something opened. Claire raised the song shield and met it. She did not push it away. She sang back with the shield, though her mouth said nothing. She let the sound of her people fill the shape of the shield. Laughter at the riverwork, songs in the barn, stories told on long nights, soft words given to calm a child, pride held in small acts done well. The wall of quiet lost its edge. Claire moved the song. Blade touched the conductor chest. Not a cut, a change, a new note in an old chord. The pulse fell out of step. The ranks of the cold sect wavered. Leora came to her side and put one hand on the song blade together. They held it there for one more breath. The conductor trembled, and the smooth face showed a crack. A small voice came through like a bird caught in a room.